If you've been watching our channel very long, you've probably noticed that two of our favorite travel destinations are Virginia Beach, Virginia, and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. These two popular beach resort areas are not too far from where we currently live, and we feel blessed to just be able to take last-minute weekend road trips to both of these places. But we are sometimes asked, which is better? If someone only has a few days and can't fit visits to both Virginia Beach and the Outer Banks into their travel plans, which one should they pick? We are here to answer that question for you. We have discussed it, and we have an answer. We aren't going to cop out and say that it's a tie. We will deliver our verdict in just a few minutes, but first some background that leads us to our decision. You can feel free to let us know if we are wrong in the comments.
Virginia Beach and the Outer Banks are neighbors, with Virginia Beach directly to the north of the Outer Banks. As a result, the weather is similar, the waves are very similar, they both have some good seafood restaurants, they both have similar beach resort town attractions nearby. But the two destinations also give off very different vibes. I lived in the Virginia Beach area for many years. It's a medium-sized city of over 450,000 residents on the mainland of Virginia. And tourism is a major component of its economy. In 2022, over 13.6 million tourists visited the city throughout the year. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, Virginia Beach is home to the world's longest stretch of pleasure beach, with about 38 miles of sandy coastline with fun attractions for the whole family. If you're staying at the oceanfront, Virginia Beach is very walkable. Beachfront hotels, restaurants, and attractions line the shore. You can just park at your hotel, walk along the boardwalk, or walk along the shops on Atlantic Avenue and get to many of the places you'd want to go at the oceanfront. However, if you ever want to leave the popular oceanfront area, you will need a car, either your own or you can use rideshare apps like Uber or Lyft to get around. When you hang out around the oceanfront resort area, you are going to have to pay for parking at most places you go. The price of parking is, of course, higher in the summer than it is the rest of the year, when there are less tourists looking for parking places. The further you move away from the beach, the more you will find free parking at many of the nearby places you'd want to go. There is a free app called VB Go that can help you find available parking spaces at the oceanfront area.
As we continue, just a quick reminder, if you find this video informative, please click the like button to show YouTube that you are enjoying this video. And click the link in the description below to check out my Amazon affiliate page. If you click on that link and order anything from Amazon after clicking, it won't cost you anything extra, but I will get a small commission to keep this show on the road. We appreciate your support. The Outer Banks of North Carolina is a series of barrier islands in a peninsula along the coast of North Carolina. Along this string of islands, there is over 100 miles of sandy beaches. Because about 70 miles of that coastline is part of the Cape Hatteras National Seashore, there is a lot of undeveloped coastline featuring beaches in a more natural and less crowded state. While the Outer Banks have seen a lot more development than was present a few decades ago, the area is still much less developed than other beaches in the region, like Virginia Beach or Myrtle Beach. This gives you a feeling of getting away from it all on vacation. While in the Outer Banks, visitors can book a Jeep tour to look for the famed wild horses of Kerala, scuba dive down to see some of the area's shipwrecks, some of which are only about 20 feet down in the ocean, or charter a boat to spend the day fishing. When you need to refuel, there are plenty of great options like fresh seafood, North Carolina-style barbecue, and duck donuts. And if you are traveling on a budget, you may be interested in knowing that just last month, Travel and Leisure magazine published an article stating that the Outer Banks of North Carolina is the most affordable travel destination in the United States.
If you are trying to choose between the two destinations, here are some things to consider. Virginia Beach has a much more active nightlife, with lots of nightclubs compared to the relatively mild island pace of the Outer Banks. We're the type of travelers that start heading for the hotel pretty soon after dinner unless we have some sort of show or event to go to that will keep us out later. So nightclubs aren't usually our scene, but if that's something you're looking for, you would probably prefer Virginia Beach. The Outer Banks has more lighthouses. There are 5 lighthouses that you can see in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We have seen them all and have repeated our visits to several of them over the years. Virginia Beach only has 2 lighthouses, and they're both in the same location, which is a little complicated to visit. It's on an active military base. You have to have a government ID to visit the base, and there are strict rules about what you can bring with you and where you can go while you're inside the base. There are 2 lighthouses because one is an old historic lighthouse commissioned by President George Washington. The other, newer lighthouse is the one that is actually still in use today. If you want to see lighthouses, the Outer Banks is your best bet.
If you like big, fancy hotels overlooking the beach with ocean view balconies, Virginia Beach has more options. If you want to rent a beach house along the coast, the Outer Banks, with its almost 20,000 vacation houses for rent, is probably more your speed. Though you can find beach houses in Virginia Beach, particularly at the south end in an area called Sandbridge. And you can find hotels with ocean view balconies in some places in the Outer Banks too. In our experience, the hotels and motels of the Outer Banks tend to be, on average, less expensive and less fancy than those in Virginia Beach. Though again, there are both expensive luxury resorts and relatively cheap motels available at both destinations. If you're a history buff, we suggest the Outer Banks. We have been to museums and monuments there that tell us of the history of the lost colony of Roanoke, the history of the first flight and of pirates, and of the Coast Guard, and its predecessor, the U.S. Life-Saving Service, the history of shipwrecks, and the history of farming on the islands. A lot of history took place along this thin slice of land, and it is fascinating to take it all in. Now, Virginia Beach also has some interesting history on display too, and its neighbor, Norfolk, features a lot of history regarding the U.S. Navy. And only 90 minutes away is Colonial Williamsburg and Yorktown and Jamestown, known as the Historic Triangle.
Both destinations can feel very crowded at the peak of summer tourist season. Virginia Beach has a lot more visitors each year. But the Outer Banks has a lot less room, so it can feel very crowded with less people. There are parts of the island where there is only one road, and everyone is trying to take that one road to get to the same popular destinations. During the busiest parts of the summer, the Outer Banks can be close to completely full, with most lodging options rented out. Many of these beach houses change over on Saturdays in the Outer Banks, so if you're trying to drive to or from the Outer Banks on Saturdays in, say, July, you will likely need to pack a lot of patience. Even with the traffic problems in the Outer Banks, The beach in Virginia Beach can feel more crowded during peak season, as there are just a lot more people present, especially during times where there are festivals or other special events held on the beach.
So a lot of this comes down to your preferences. You can have a great beach vacation in either of these two places. We know people who love Virginia Beach, and we know people who love the Outer Banks. And there are people like us who love both for different reasons, which is why we know a good number of people who have visited both in one trip. You can easily spend 3 or 4 days in one location and then drive a couple hours to spend the rest of your vacation at the other destination. Even though Virginia Beach and Outer Banks are touching on a map, there's actually no way to drive straight from one into the other, as the part of Virginia that butts up against the Outer Banks is False Cape State Park, an undeveloped beach area where people are not allowed to enter with their cars. You must either hike, bike, or take a tram in. Since you can't drive in that area, you have to drive down into mainland North Carolina and then cross a bridge to the Outer Banks. So it is a bit of a road trip to get from one to the other. Anyway, what if you can't do that? What if you only have time to visit one of the two this summer? After much discussion, we agreed. If you could only visit one, we would suggest the Outer Banks. We like the open stretch of beaches and the laid-back island vibe. You can't go wrong with either of these choices. And Virginia Beach is special to us because Jack grew up in the area and we have family and friends and lots of great memories in Virginia Beach. But for those who have asked us which we prefer, we would prefer an Outer Banks vacation just a bit more. If you have been to these travel destinations, let us know what you think of them in the comments, and then you can choose your own adventure. We have extensive playlists that will help you plan a vacation to either Virginia Beach or to the Outer Banks. Click the links at the end of this video to learn more. I'm Alice.
And I'm Jack.
Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so we can see you the next time we're traveling through.